Are you good and ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the session Let's Talk Text, Designing Accessible Reading Experiences. If you're joining us online, please place your questions in the Q&A panel rather than the chat panel, as chat will not be moderated. For attendees here in the room, please hold your questions until the end of the session. We'll try to get to as many as possible, but if we don't have time to get to all of them, some presenters will join the chat and try to answer questions individually. This session demonstrates essential strategies for creating accessible text that enhances learning for all learners. Our presenter for this session is an assistant instructional professional from Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College here at ASU and leads undergraduate and graduate courses in learning, design, and technology. Please give a warm welcome to our speaker, Angel Morgan.
Hello, thanks for joining me today. I'm excited to share strategies for creating accessible text that enhances learning for all learners. So let's look at an example of what inaccessible text might look like. Knowledge acquisition optimization must be endeavored through the implementation of multifaceted instructional methodologies by educators, whereby conventional paradigms are transcended. Click here for more details. Quite a mouthful, isn't it? And if you notice, the poor color contrast makes it even harder to read. The combination of complex language and low contrast creates significant barriers for many readers. Throughout this presentation, we'll work on transforming this paragraph into something more accessible in both language and visual presentation. Accessible text is perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Perceivable content means learners can access information regardless of how they view it. This includes using clear fonts, readable text sizes, and effective use of color for better visibility. Operable content lets learners navigate efficiently through your materials. This means organizing with logical headers and using meaningful link text that clearly indicates where links will lead. Understandable text is clear and uses plain language that is accessible to a wider audience, including those with cognitive disabilities, non-native English speakers, or individuals who may just be unfamiliar with specialized jargon. Short sentences and consistent terminology reduce cognitive load and help readers process and retain information more effectively. Finally, accessible text should be robust. It should work reliably across all platforms, including assistive technologies. Following the web standards ensures this compatibility. So, there are several characteristics of accessible fonts. A standard font size is important. Use 11 to 12 points for body text. While standard subscripts and superscripts are acceptable, running text smaller than 9 points, like long footnotes, creates barriers by forcing learners to zoom in. Sans serif fonts like Arial, Veranda, and Calibri are most readable, especially for learners with dyslexia or low vision. Their clean, simple lines improve clarity across many devices. Avoid decorative, italic, or scripted fonts. These stylized characters slow reading and create barriers for many learners. Finally, maintain consistent fonts throughout your document. Changing styles forces constant adjustments and distracts from the content. Adequate color contrast allows learners to distinguish text from the background, enabling them to read and comprehend the information presented. Strive for a contrast ratio of at least 4.5 to 1 between the background and text colors. You can use a contrast checking tool like WebAIM's Contrast Checker to verify color compliance. This was shown in the previous presentation. Additionally, color must not be the only means of conveying information. Use symbols like asterisks to help emphasize text in the middle of a sentence. Similarly, use icons next to key sections such as help text or notes to guide the reader. All right, so can you spot the perceivable differences between the before and after an accessible text in this example? The after text uses a sans serif font, which is Arial. It removes the italics, it improves the contrast ratio with the colors, and it uses asterisks for emphasis. Now let's talk about operability by using logical headers and structured content. Headers act like signposts guiding users through your content. They help readers understand the structure and flow, making it easier to find the information they're looking for. For instance, a descriptive heading like accessible font characteristics immediately tells the reader what to expect in that section. Maintaining a proper section hierarchy means using heading levels in order. Heading 1 for main titles, heading 2 for primary section, heading 3 for subsections, and so on. A logical hierarchy reflects the relationship between the topics and the subtopics. Using a logical hierarchy reduces learners' cognitive load by helping them focus on the content rather than figuring out how to navigate it. By keeping text succinct and broken up, you can chunk up your information in more digestible ways. Lists provide a clear structure that help learners scan and locate key information quickly. Meaningful links are also important for operability. Raw URLs can be long and difficult to read, especially for screen readers users who will hear every character. Instead, embed the URL within descriptive text. Additionally, instead of vague phrases like click here or read more, we should use text that clearly indicates the purpose or the destination of the link. Providing context within link text helps users understand why they might want to click the link. This is particularly helpful for users who skim through content as it gives them immediate insight into where the link will take them. Screen readers often navigate from one link to another, hearing only the link text. If the link says click here, it doesn't provide any useful information. Descriptive links like view our upcoming events calendar are much more helpful. Using uniform visual cues such as underlining or consistent color for hyperlinks allows users to quickly identify clickable text. This consistency reduces confusion and enhances the navigation. All right, so take a quick look. Can you spot the operable differences between the before and after an accessible text example? The after example added a heading. It uses descriptive link text or a title. It provides context within the link text using the word article, and it used styling for all hyperlinks. So it's underlined and uses the red font. Clear writing helps everyone, especially language learners and people with learning disabilities. Write with your audience in mind, their knowledge level, needs, and their goals. You can use tools like the readability checker on Hemingway's editor website to check and revise readability scores. Using literal language ensures clarity and reduces misunderstandings. If specialized terms are necessary, provide explanations or definitions. For example, say start working immediately and efficiently instead of hit the ground running. Aim for one idea per sentence to reduce complexity. Short sentences are easier to process and understand, helping readers stay engaged with the content. Active voice sentences are generally clearer and more direct. For example, the committee approved the new policy is more straightforward than the new policy was approved by the committee. When we use the same terms for the same concepts, we reduce confusion and help readers build a clear understanding. Consistent use of fonts, heading styles, heading sizes helps users navigate the content more easily. They know what to expect, which reduces cognitive load and allows them to focus on the material. If you use icons to represent certain actions or ideas, make sure they have the same meaning every time they're used. This consistency helps users quickly understand visual cues without having to relearn them. Finally, a style guide provides rules for language usage, formatting, and terminology, serving as a reference point for anyone creating content. Okay, so can you spot the operable differences between the before and after an accessible text example? Here, the after version uses revised wording to a 12th grade reading level. It is rewritten in an active voice. And we added a book icon to call out the reading recommendation. By making robust choices within Office Tools or the Canvas Rich Text Editor, we can ensure that our content is accessible, navigable, and compatible with a wide range of assistive devices. Rather than simply increasing font sizes or making text bold for headings, use the heading formats provided in the editor tool, like heading 1 or heading 2. This creates the proper semantic structure that assistive technologies like screen readers can recognize and navigate. When creating bullet points or numbered lists, use the list function within the editor. This ensures that lists are properly formatted and can be interpreted correctly by screen readers. When you insert an image, use the image properties dialog to add descriptive alt text. This provides essential context for users who cannot see the images. Use the editor style functions to keep your headings, paragraph, and listings consistent throughout your content. Be cautious when copying and pasting text from other sources. It's best to paste without formatting and then apply the appropriate styles within the editor to avoid introducing inaccessible code or inconsistent formatting. So that would be like using the paste special and then as plain text or values only. Use built-in accessibility checks to help you identify potential issues and guide you in making necessary adjustments directly within the editor. This was also previously shown in the last presentation within Word. All right. So the second tip for ensuring robust text is making regular updates to maintain accessibility standards. This involves staying current with standards like WCAG and Universal Design for Learning. Regular audits, combining automated tools with manual testing, help to identify and address issues promptly. And most importantly, learner feedback is invaluable. Actively collect and respond to accessibility concerns from your learners or your users or your reader audience, depending on your role. All right. So this and the next slide list resources to help you keep your text accessible and robust. All right, so let's wrap up the discussion about accessible text. The key takeaway is that accessible text isn't just beneficial to people with disabilities, it improves the learning experience for everyone. Whether someone is reading on a small phone screen, using a screen reader, or struggling with poor internet connection, accessible text helps them engage with your content more effectively. Remember our 4 main principles. Your text should be perceivable, meaning everyone can access the information regardless of how they consume it. It needs to be operable so readers can navigate through it efficiently. It must be understandable using clear language that makes sense to your audience. And finally, it should be robust enough to work reliably across different platforms or technologies. As accessibility standards and technologies continue to evolve, I encourage you to stay informed about these best practices. Follow accessibility experts on social media. You can join relevant professional groups and regularly review your content to ensure it meets current accessibility standards. And lovely list of references in addition to the resources that we had previously. And I'll go back to the resources too. And that is my main piece there. All right. You can find the links to the contrast checker and the readability checker in the presentation.
We
All right,
have a,
Javi. Okay.
we can open up the room to questions now, but we do have a question from Zoom that I'll go ahead and read off now. About the use symbols or icons to emphasize content, we want to find ways to help folks use icons as guides in text, particularly those that are accessing the documents in a cited way, to which emojis can be useful because they stay in line with formatting and not causing other issues around formatting or structure. However, they don't really give an opportunity to change the alt text. Would you recommend not using these as icons for navigation or structure and use images instead or something different? Sometimes the alt text makes sense, but sometimes there could be other connotations that aren't universal.
I would recommend with your key point there is universal. So you want to use something that allows for alt text. Similarly, if there's an emoji dictionary that actually is sort of universally understood, and it is based on actual keyboard characters. So if you want to use emojis, that may be the best way to go. Um, and then images certainly are helpful with icons there. You can also use the asterisks as well as sort of a call out or a supplement as well.
Okay, we had a couple of other Zoom questions come in. So there's one that I'll read out loud. I tend to use H1 headings for document titles, but I've noticed that both Google Docs and Microsoft Word also have a dedicated title style. Is one better to use than the other?
In general, each document should only have one H1 header. So, and then a document will also, for accessibility purposes, also needs a header. So in Google Docs and in Word, you can actually add, if the file title can also be declared the document title. So using the heading within your document itself, H1, H2, H3 is important. And then you can reserve the title for, don't use the title style heading, but you can actually declare the title of the document, like when you save and such, so that the title of the document maintains that way. And it's often the file title. In Google, there's a way to declare the file title as the document title, if that makes any sense.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that question. And then the second question that came in reads as such. On slide 12, you used a book icon to call out a reading recommendation. Would this be disruptive or distracting for students relying on a screen reader? Is there an ideal way to present this, whether with an emoji, an image with descriptive text, or do you mark as decorative to skip?
So I used alt text. So is what I did. This was an image. It was not an icon. Well, it was from the Noun project. It was an icon, but it was brought in as an image with alt text. So that's usually sort of your best way to go about it, is to use something that allows for alt text.
Do we have any questions from the in-person audience? We have another question.
Okay, so this Zoom question just came in. Another question about the use of icons. What are your thoughts about using icons to support users taking information visually, but hiding the icons from screen readers to avoid confusing alt text since they do not introduce new content or information?
If they are just used as decoration, they need to be, it's okay to do that. It's just if there is a reason why that icon is there, you want to make sure that it has an alternative within the text. So you can, for example, use, there are some people that will put like asterisks or exclamation points on either side of things. Basically, you want the experience to be consistent. So if somebody can't see an icon, but it is efficient and it's sort of better for those with sight to use to have the icons, that's great, but there should be an alternative, whether it be alt text or a different, for example, heading style that could easily be used, because screen readers will use the heading styles to be able to what's called skip navigation. And so, for example, if you have a long page of text, if you use the navigation pane in Word or in Google Docs, that kind of finds it helpful when you so you can go to different spots on the page, and it's easier for sighted users to be able to see those headings. But a screen reader can actually have the ability to skip the headings and going through. So that's the structure and the hierarchy of that document. So if you want something to be sort of emphasized with the screen reader, you could even use a like H5 or H6 level in order to make some sections that go with icons, for example, or the header, add a header before your list of bullets. So just consider effective use of headers if the breakdown, or if it's further down in the text where you're trying to figure out, is an icon easier? Icons are really effective, but they also have to be universally meaningful. So if they aren't, then it's best to use a text substitute.
Thank you so much. And then we have one person who raised their hand on Zoom, so I'm going to let them speak. It'll be 1 second. Glenda, if you're able to unmute. Or you can also type in your comment or question. That works too. Yeah, if you're able to, Glenda, if you're able to write your question, that would be great.
In the meantime, if there are any other questions, now is the time to raise your hand. Yes. So recently to draft some different emails, stuff like that, I've been using, some of the AI to kind of start it off, and they are using a ton of bold and all these different images and stuff like that. The bold always looks good, but I'm realizing that may not actually come across for a screen reader. So in that case, is doing icons like the asterisk better?
It can be. It really sort of depends. If you're using bold in a Google Doc, for example, it actually will Google Docs, and when you save as docx in HTML in Word, it actually uses XML, which is HTML code behind the scenes. And so what it'll do is it'll use that tag called strong. And unlike the traditional HTML, which used the bold or the B tag, the strong tag is read by many modern screen readers. So bold is the best, I guess, alternative choice for text emphasis if you can't use like asterisks or something like that on either side. So many modern screen readers can distinguish the bold text. Just it's not good to overuse it, and don't combine it with other emphasis like italics or underline, because that just becomes too it can become too confusing and cluttered for sighted users who may have trouble distinguishing um,
Sure. So keep
or
it
confusing
consistent,
words.
kind of. Yeah.
Mhm.
Any more questions in person or on Zoom? All right, I'm not seeing any hands. I'm not seeing any chats. Okay, well, I just want to thank Dr. Morgan. If you'd like to give her another round of applause, please do so now.
Thank you.
We are going to take a break for lunch in the Arizona room. There will be a brief presentation on Folk Fest in the Arizona room, but we will be back at 1 p.m. for our next session, Designing with Mental Health in Mind. For those attending in person, be sure to check out the Tetra ski display outside of the Arizona room. Thank you to everyone here, and we'll see you back after lunch.